one electrical outlet. So as a result, those kids are already 10 or 12 feet from the projection screen, and the rest of the class is another 15 to 20 feet from the projection screen and those speakers. So in all due respect, I suspect the people in the front of this room are seeing this a lot better than you in the back, in all due respect. That's happening in many, many classrooms because you're following your lead and responding to facility placement of electrical outlets. Here's one. Small group activities are emerging. This one's actually in a nice room and properly configured, as has been the case in all of them. But let's go further. Well, at this point, it still looks pretty good, but we notice it's next to the garbage from the custodial because there is no custodial room down there. There should be. And then next door and across is the mop and the coiled up equipment. Now, in all good honesty, nobody touches it, and I'm sure the aroma from the mop bucket is all right. Facetiously, I say that, of course. And they don't bother that equipment. The custodians are doing the best job they can, but that's not what should be happening here, to be blunt. And across from them is additional storage up on the shelves above the HOT racks, but not in the classrooms where they need to be. Let's keep going. Here's a tough one. Hallways. Who would think hallways are a big issue? How can a hallway affect learning? Let's go there. Hallways called circulation space. Many of your older buildings have big, wide hallways and big, wide stairwells to create great circulation space. You also have the thickness of the walls that sometimes are thicker, and you also have mechanical rooms, some of which we've seen. That refers to what is called the net to gross ratio, the amount of usable educational space compared to the hallway support space. In a more recent building, you'd try to get down to 25, 30% or around there. Some of your schools, I suggest, are maybe as high as 50, 55% are support space, 40, 50% usable educational space. So let's take that a few more steps for capital funding purposes. If that school is used 365 days a year, then that would be a pretty year-time use, but it's only used 180, half the time. So that 50% is now 25% utilization because it's only used half the year. Then we say, how many times is the student in the classroom in the school? 6 hours? Well, compared to business, that's certainly less than half the time. So if it went from 50% to 25% utilization, now 25% is cut in half for a 6-hour day, you're down to 12.5% use. And if you went further to say some of the children are pretty small, the point I'm trying to make is the impact of utility costs, excessive square footage, inappropriately designed educational space is multiplied by the fact that you want the best bang for the buck for the time your children are in those educational spaces. And some of your buildings aren't providing that. Let's look at this, another small group classroom. And sure enough, a fan on a hot day like this blowing into it. The impact in research on auditory learning, visual learning, kinesthetic learning is growing and mounting. We cannot have distractions. Some of us have distractions with our own children at dinner. Imagine having distraction with 25 elementary kids in a noisy classroom. And again, an area next to a printer and a copier. I don't want to belabor these points, they're becoming obvious. We have a career tech series here. Let me go into that. A great career tech program, and I'm very, very observant in these spaces. The support equipment, very well handled. Clean, neat, safe. Next door is an engineering class. Again, an appropriate, good program used elsewhere in the country. And that teacher is using a CAD operating computer-aided design system piece of equipment correctly. Again, the new right technology is in place. Bear with me as I go through the impacts of this series. Again, a wood shop exemplifying computer-aided lathe work. All very good. But let's go from there into your science room. If we're doing that for career tech, what about science? Okay. So let's go inside this science room. It's undersized, probably by 40 or so percent. A lab might be 1,200, 1,300 square feet. This one maybe is 800 square feet. and the lab tables are probably the original lab tables. Let's go inside that issue now. Computers are in use, but now look how small that one is. It's a tiny little laptop. She's attached that laptop to a measuring device that measures temperature in a science experiment. You're using the right technology, you're using the right software, the right curriculum, the right computer, but look how it's not fitting or properly electrified on the computer lab station. In the back, fume hoods, exemplary fume hoods, but they're taking up some square footage that can now be reassigned or do something else with. The teacher, let's see, Greg Reynolds, I recall, great new instructor, enjoyed meeting him. I talked to probably 50 of the teachers I had a chance to meet, really enjoyed it. He's using projection video here. I mentioned that earlier when I started the presentation. But let's go a step further. How far away is the student from that projection device? 40 plus feet. So the issue of hearing and seeing what needs to be taught, and to back up for a minute, look how big that instructional table is. The first student is a good distance almost from you to me in the front row, and then go 40 feet back, and that's where the rear student is. I know if I didn't sit and like science, where would I sit? Right? I'd sit in the back of that room. There's an old adage I've used often. There should be no bad seat in the house. A student who is trying to learn or needs to learn what they need to learn should not be able to choose, accidentally even, the wrong place to get a good education. It's too serious. They shouldn't be able to choose a bad seat. What's the good news? Say, oh, where's there any good news out there? Sure, there's a lot of good news. Let me tell you about that piece of good news. That science lab's dimensions, lengths and widths, are perfect for any advanced science placement classroom anywhere in North America, and I'd bet my reputation on it. You can place the technologies, the lab station layout, and educational instructional techniques into that space if you remodel it. Why is that important? Because I'm going to talk later on about standards that are part of the process of creating a master plan, and be able to look at your space, not to say, God, we can't afford to build all new schools, as one person said out here. Can we build them all new? No, that's not real. The fact of the matter is going to be looking smartly at what you have, remodeling it cost effectively, and you'll be able to make that into an advanced science classroom of the future on 20 cents on the dollar compared to trying to build a new school. That's what we want to look for. Know where we're going and find the economical ways to get there. Let's keep going here, wrong way. Okay, let's keep going with this philosophically for a second. So you see the distance from the back, but what's good again? That teacher is working with the engineer in the classroom next door on the CAD program, and also working with the teacher at the HTC Career Technical Center. So you've got everything in place to connect curriculum, connect technology, and work in the right direction. But as you're beginning to see, some of those facilities aren't helping us. And he's using his own technology, of course. But he should and could, in that very room, remodeled, be appropriately using multi-screen, multimedia technology like that which I've suggested to the Brookfield Zoo in Chicago to connect to the Moat Museum. Now, why say that? Because you may not know you have the state's only most successful marine biology program. So I'm trying to show you, you got these things, you got the marine biology program, and you can bring multimedia distance learning to some of the best educators in the world, and that education to your students within the existing building. Music. I'm an old music person, actually going to the alumni game at the University of Michigan. Uh-oh. I didn't mean to say that. Okay, the alumni band at the University of Michigan. But I love music. 80 students sing in this choral room, and all 5 surrounding classrooms love it. That can be fixed. Maybe that room gets relocated. Maybe something else happens. But that can be fixed, but you need to have clear standards and objectives to follow. The library here, and I'm picking this school only because it's one I went through in detail, the library's been reconfigured and updated for a correct collection of books involved